social media is kind of cool. It gives people a platform to speak freely and, talk about the things that really matter to them and be able to spread whatever they feel. It's also kind of shit because it's designed to be incredibly addictive, take away your attention span, blah, blah, blah. You've probably heard about all the typical negatives of social media. But something that really affected me about being addicted to social media that I really wish more people spoke about was that it turned me into a coward. And trust me when I say you do not want to be a coward. No, you really don't want to be a coward. Just let me explain. So when I was addicted to social media, the big problem was that it caused me to chronically compare myself to others. And this might be something you're struggling with too, because with your Instagrams and your TikToks and your YouTubes, all that sort of stuff, what would happen is, so let's take Instagram. So a typical me picking up my phone and checking Instagram would look like something like this. I'd open the app, I click on someone's story and, someone I, met ages ago who's younger than me is getting married. You scroll down and you see one of the funniest jokes, you've ever seen. Then you scroll down again and then you see a really funny meme. And then you scroll down again and then you see one of your friends showing off some really cool accomplishment. Maybe they've gotten jacked in the gym, or maybe they're doing like a backflip or something. And you scroll down again and you see like a couple in a really happy relationship. And then you scroll down again and then, one of your friends is, traveling the world and, they look like they're having a great time. And why this caused me to chronically compare myself to others was because for most of the time when I used Instagram, I would only be seeing highlights of people's lives, the accomplishments of people's lives. Let's just say, take that friend who learned how to do a backflip, and then they post a little Instagram reel or something like that with cool music playing in the background with them doing a backflip and it looks fucking sick. That's what they're gonna post, right? They're not gonna post the hours and hours that they put in of them getting frustrated and pissed off and fumbling and falling over and struggling to do the backflip. No. Of course not. They're going to post the highlight, which is when they actually accomplish it. But the problem with this is that when we see one extremity to the next, or when I saw one extreme thing to the next, most of which were people's accomplishments, people doing really cool things, people traveling the world, people getting married, people, buying cool things or whatever, it subconsciously made me have really high standards for myself, and it made me really insecure. And I didn't even realize this. That's the trick with all this, is that you don't even realize it. And if you do realize it, you feel kind of helpless, and then you can't just shove it away and you cope. When I was in a position of having subconsciously really high standards for myself, it caused me to live in my head. And what I mean by that is it caused me to daydream a lot, and it caused me to fantasize a lot about the life that I could have and the life that I want. And it was super problematic because when I had this bad mindset, this anxiety, these insecurities, and having super high standards for myself, like, I'm 20 years old and I should be doing all this really cool stuff, and I feel like I can't do that because obviously these are unrealistic standards. So how does your brain cope with that? Well, for me, it would cause me to daydream. It caused me to fantasize, to live in my head, to constantly be rethinking situations or, getting stuck in deep fantasy. And I say live in my head because that started to become more valuable than living in reality, which is fucking terrible. Like, why should I go out there into the real world, for example, and talk to new people and build new friendships and, risk, saying the wrong things or risk awkward moments when I can just lay in my bed, get lost in my head and imagine myself saying the right things, being the most popular person in the world, being the most charismatic person in the world. It sounds super corny, but this is something that I really did. And to be honest, it could be something you're doing too. Constantly just living in your head and getting the quick dopamine hit of just imagining how things can go. But then when you come back to reality, it sucks. And so then you escape again to your head, and then you repeat the cycle of living more and more in your head. And ultimately, that makes you a coward because it teaches you not to face reality, to just retreat into your head, to not have the courage to go out into the real world and actually go through the trials and tribulations of putting in the effort to do what you really want to do, whether it's starting that stupid business project, I don't know, do that thing you're putting off, try that new hobby you want to do, ask that person out, to do the things and risk the things in life that really matter and are a little bit uncomfortable. No, why would you do them when you could just fucking sit there and fantasize about it in your head and dwell on it in your own head? Why have the courage to do something when I can just think about it, when I can just visualize it. It creates this really absolutely terrible mindset, and it's super unhealthy for you if you've got it, because I've been there and it's not a nice place. I'm going to say this up front: cowards are bad people, because they will do anything in their power to keep themselves safe. I remember, and for me personally, like, it would get so bad that it literally broke a few friendships. Cowardness bleeds into the rest of your life, and when you train yourself to live in your head due to social media or any other means, but usually social media is a pretty big cause for many young people, and just to live in your head rather than living in the present moment and facing situations in the present moment, which are harder and require more emotional maturity, but, you know, have better value in the long run, it sucks. And you become, I don't know how else to put it, you become a bad person. You become a person people don't want to be around. You become very selfish because you're prioritizing keeping yourself comfortable and safe. And people can't trust that. You have to be willing, especially when around other people, to say what needs to be said rather than what makes you and that other person in the moment comfortable, even if that means lying. Being a coward will make you not pursue the things that you really want to do, not even try. And even if you do try, you won't go the full length. You'll quit early. When you're a coward, you blame everything on others, and then you'll continue to live in your head, and you become very narcissistic, selfish, greedy. You think you deserve everything without actually getting out of your comfort zone and putting in the effort. And cowards don't think, I didn't think, like, because when you're a coward, you don't think you're a bad person. If anything, you think you're justified for your actions. I've said it a couple times, and I'll finish with it. You do not want to be a coward. Get off social media, cut it out. And I made a rule for myself: I can only check social media once a day before I go to bed. And, you know, people are freaking out like, oh, what if people send me messages and whatever? Well, you can just, I don't know, turn on the notifications, and so when someone sends you a message, if it's important, you can still see it. But, you know, you don't have to use the app unless you have to. You know, don't make excuses. Cut these things out, especially Instagram, TikTok, fucking YouTube Shorts, all that crap. All that stuff is just bloody noise. Even this video right now, I mean, I really do hope I'm giving you value, but at the same time, get off your phone, get off this video and go and do something. Take action. Life lives in the action. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be great. You just have to try, even if it's a little bit. Your ego will say all this shit and try and justify not doing it. Many of our minds, especially if you've spent a lot of time on social media, and like me, you've the whole thing about developing a really bad mindset, what I was talking about before. But yeah, your mind is a great bullshit artist. Don't listen to it. You already know what needs to be done. Go and just try it. Even if it's a little bit. Have the courage to try that thing that you've been putting off. You know what it is. You know what needs to be done. Go and do it. Don't listen to the shit in your head. Just do it. Have the courage. Don't be a coward. Stay off social media and cut that shit back. Like, seriously, when I started doing that, I was genuinely pissed off that I hadn't tried it earlier. You're gonna get tempted. You're gonna get cravings to go back. You're gonna feel all these emotions. Good. Let that happen. Let that be practice to combat what your mind is telling you, to combat your emotions, because it's impulsive. And you don't want to be impulsive, because impulsive people are cowards. So, like I said before, cut back social media. Do the things, or try the things that you actually want to do, despite what your emotions say, and don't be a coward.